Welcome to the Shreveport Connection with Tommy. This video is on Monday Night Raw and spoilers for Superstars for Thursday. Partial Superstars, 2 matches and a dark match, and your main event dark match after all. And here's some brief WWE news. Well, it's a little bit more than brief. Florida Championship Wrestling is on June 27th in Winter Haven, Florida at the Armory. WWE Superstar CM Punk is scheduled to appear at Wizard World Philadelphia Comic-Con located at PA, Pennsylvania Convention Center from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. Tonight's Raw will likely show where Randy Orton and Kane fit in on the No Way Out pay-per-view. And probably not against each other. WWE developmental wrestler, the son of former WWE, WCW, NWA superstar Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, son Richie Steamboat, is advertised for his SmackDown. It's a Saturday edition of SmackDown live event where I grew up at James Brown Arena in Augusta, Georgia. And he will be facing none other than Drew McIntyre on his debut. Promoting the show via interview, Natalya says she made a name for herself in WWE through hard work and dedication rather than her ties to the legendary Hart family. And quoted by saying, "I love the fact that I'm making history, but my family didn't make me who I am today." She says, "What I do is a dream fulfilled. Everything I've earned is on my own," unquote. Internal reaction to the Chris Jericho flag incident last weekend among the WWE talents was they were more shocked and upset than anything else. I know A-Rod was commenting on Facebook about it, and he was on Jericho's side. While it was a big deal online, behind the scenes it was not, because it's storyline. The feeling was that Jericho was just doing his job, but WWE had to suspend him because he violated the local laws in Brazil and because the incident could be used against the company in the future. On Twitter, Jericho still insists that he is done with his run in WWE, suspension or not. So thus he may or may not return to WWE ever again. He may even retire, according to his understanding from his tweets and Facebook comments. WWE has changed the main events due to the fact for their upcoming tour in Japan in August, for August the 9th, Sheamus versus Kane with John Laurinaitis as either the special guest referee or enforcer, and Randy Orton versus Alberto Del Rio in a no disqualification match is now advertised for the August 10th show. And now Del Rio versus Orton versus Sheamus versus Kane in a fatal 4-way. WWE Hall of Famer Arn Anderson is advertised as a special enforcer for a Sheamus versus Kane versus Alberto Del Rio cage match at the June 5th WWE SmackDown taping in Columbia, South Carolina. Only 80 miles from where I grew up at. And that was Augusta, Georgia. Catch I-20, you can take it right over to basically right through it. I know it was right through Augusta, all that. And Triple H is also being advertised for that event. World Wrestling Council promotion has announced that WWE Superstars, Primo and Epico will take on Shelton Benjamin and John Morrison at the June 30th anniversary show in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. WWE diva Natalya turned 30 years old on Sunday, while Eric Bischoff turned 57 today, and former WWE star Charles Mosh Warrington, of the Headbangers, turned 41, while WWE legend Kamala turned 62. Mick Foley worked last night's WWE SmackDown live event in Lake Charles, Louisiana. He was a special enforcer as the United States champion Santino Marella defeated Jack Swagger. Mick Foley ended up hitting Swagger with Mr. Sacco after the match. Tonight's WWE Super Show will did take place from the New Orleans Arena in New Orleans, Louisiana. Advertised for the show was Big Show and John Laurinaitis versus John Cena in a handicap match, and CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE title. Triple H or Brock Lesnar are not advertised for the show. Cody Myers and Thad Perkins are at the WWE Raw show in New Orleans and sending the following update. Prior to all the melee, dark match. Dean Ambrose defeated Tyson Kidd. Ambrose cut a promo to some decent heat. He won in about a 5-minute match with a DDT. Kidd got a little pop as he left. And Superstar saving, spoilers. Beth Phoenix defeated Alicia Fox. Beth won with a glam slam in roughly about 6 minutes. The crowd was actually really into the match for once. And match number 2, Tensai defeated Alex Riley again. Or should I say like my daughter and Chris Jericho? Again. Total domination for 6 minutes. What happened to Tensai being a major player on Raw? Somebody has been knocked down a few notches, I guess. And now for your Raw Super Show Memorial Day edition 2012. And it's dedicated to all of our fallen soldiers. We open up with a look back at the WWE's Over the Limit pay-per-view, where Big Show helped John Laurinaitis defeat John Cena. We see footage from last week's Raw Super Show where Show explained his actions. We're live from the New Orleans Arena as Big Show makes his way out in a suit. Michael Cole welcomes us to Raw and he's joined by Jerry the King Lawler. Show says he's set for life. He can do whatever he wants, when he wants, whenever he wants, to whom he wants, and doesn't have to worry about being putting on a smile on people's faces because he's not an entertainer. He's a giant. Show that says no one is in his league. He knocks NFL players, NBA players, UFC fighters, and his fellow WWE superstars. Show says nobody came to his defense when he was on his knees begging for his job. Minutes after he lost, this happened. And they show the footage of Brodus Clay with his dancers in the ring and the kids 2 weeks ago dancing with him. This angered Show. Show knocks the fans and John Cena some more. Show has been talking for about 10 minutes now. And they show footage of Cena making jokes at Laurinaitis 2 weeks ago and about being a loser. Show says that must be all here is to the fans. One big joke. Show says Cena hurt him when he showed that he didn't care so last week. Show hurt him. Show says what he will do to Cena at No Way Out isn't pretty. Cena will be standing in the ring with an unstoppable giant. Show goes on about No Way Out until his music hits and his cue to exit the ring. That was kind of strange. And normally he's already exited the ring when they play his music. Still to come tonight, as they go to the commercial, CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan in a non-title match. If Bryan wins, he earns a title shot. We see United States champion Santino Marella backstage warming up for a match against Alberto Del Rio. And they go to commercial. Back from the break, we see footage of last week where Santino defeated Ricardo Rodriguez. And already in the ring is Alberto Del Rio versus Santino was up next. So we go to the ring. Ricardo begins the introduction as Alberto Del Rio came driving in a Bentley. Out next comes the champion Santino Marella for his non-title match. Bell rings. Del Rio attacks. Del Rio beats Santino down and unloads on him. Santino comes back and brings out the Cobra. Just as he brings out the Cobra, Del Rio blocks the Cobra and applies a cross arm breaker for the finish. Santino tapped out. Winner of the match, Alberto Del Rio, and after the match, of course, Del Rio rips off the Cobra as Ricardo is yelling at Santino's face and announces Del Rio the winner. Alberto Del Rio! Several times. as Del Rio shoves the Cobra in Santino's mouth. Eve Torres backstage with Alex Riley speaking. Alex says she's doing a fantastic job and talks about how good she looks. Big Show walks up. Eve says John Laurinaitis is letting Show pick his opponent tonight. Eve walks off. Then Show stares at Riley. Show tells Riley to relax. He's not picking him. Show says there is a message he would like to send to the WWE locker room. Then Show slams Riley's face first into the concrete. But you know, okay, that was it. So he just sells hitting the brick wall. And then Show walks off, and they cut to commercial. Next up was a WWE tag title match. Jack Swagger and Dolph Ziggler versus R-Truth and Kofi. And back from the break, out come the tag team champions, R-Truth and Kofi first. Vicky Guerrero is out next, doing her normal excuse me crap. And introduces Dolph Ziggler and Jack Swagger. Could this be the last time that they are an actual tag team? As you will see what happens, listen to what happens as I do the match results. Kofi starts things out with Swagger and takes control. Early tag to R-Truth. Truth with more offense and a 2 count. Truth toss Swagger and dumps him over the top. Ziggler comes in, but Kofi meets him. The champs double team Ziggler and kick him out of the ring. Kofi and Truth clear the ring as they go to commercial. Back from the commercial, the Swagger has Kofi down on the mat after taking control during the commercial. Swagger takes Kofi back into the corner. He fights off Ziggler and Swagger, but gets taken back to the corner and then double teamed. Ziggler tagged in and dropped a big elbow for a 2. Kofi fought back. Ziggler misses a splash in the corner and tries for a tag. Truth comes in when Swagger tags in. Truth unloads on Swagger and rolls him up for a 2 count. Truth continues and drops Swagger for another 2. As Ziggler breaks up the pin, Ziggler and Kofi go at it and end up outside. Truth comes back in, goes back at it with Swagger and drops him on his face for the win. So R-Truth and Kofi retain. After the match, Ziggler has words with Swagger and Vicky. Ziggler says he's better than this and storms off as Vicky begs him to not to go, and Swagger looks on. Okay, and that was that. So there's your Dolph Ziggler possible singles run again. Santino Marella backstage with a trainer selling his injury and his Cobra getting choked in his mouth. Holding his arm, Big Show says maybe he will pick Santino tonight. Show grabs Santino's face and asks him if it's funny. If it's funny now. Brodus Clay appears and says Show can address his beef to his face. He actually quotes Alex Riley, "Say it to my face." Brodus tells Show to pick him tonight, and he will give him something to cry about. Show promises that Brodus won't be dancing after tonight. And they go back to commercial, and they have the still to come tonight. Punk versus Bryan with a future title shot on the line. As they go to commercial, back from the break, out comes John Laurinaitis on a scooter. He's got Eve Torres and David Otunga on his side, doing the shadows. And as they head to the ring, Laurinaitis announces Big Show versus Brodus Clay. He then announces the Big Show versus John Cena and No Way Out will now be a steel cage match. Laurinaitis says he's become the most popular WWE star in history. After defeating John Cena and Over the Limit, Laurinaitis talks about WWE 13 coming out in September, which is actually advertised as November, unless they're doing it 2 months early. Laurinaitis reveals the new cover of the WWE video game as he's on the front. Music of WWE Champion CM Punk hits, and out he comes, and it's the True. He shows the True box, and it's actually a big poster. It's like a poster-like banner that just appears like out of the crowd, I guess from one of the balconies. And Punk says Laurinaitis isn't popular at all, and there wasn't a ground Swell to get him on the corner of WMV 13. Punk says the real cover of WMV 13. Someone's a lot better looking than Laurinaitis. Fireworks pop and Punk's music hits as a big cover drops from the ceiling with Punk on it. Punk goes on and tells Laurinaitis to get out of his ring. Laurinaitis wishes him good luck and leaves the ring. Punk destroys the Laurinaitis cover as we go to commercial. Next up was Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk. Back from the break, and out comes Daniel Bryan, since CM Punk's already in the ring. Bryan chances his Borgasms as the bell rings. They lock up and trade holds. They run the ropes, and Punk takes control. Daniel Bryan back to the mat. More back and forth action between the two as Bryan takes control now. Punk catches Bryan in midair with a backbreaker and starts dropping knees. Punk with a 1 count before applying a body scissors. Punk continues with another hold before they trade pin attempts. Bryan with a jackknife cover and more pin attempts. Bryan comes off the top with a knee drop before drop kicking Punk out of the ring. Punk hits the crossbody from the second rope out to the floor and takes out Bryan. AJ Lee comes walking down the ramp with a Punk t-shirt on. Punk brings it back into the ring as we go to commercial. Back from the break, and Bryan has control as he took it during the break, but now Punk has turned it back around. Punk catches Bryan with a big boot, but Bryan counters a crossbody and throws Punk to the mat. Bryan with a big drop kick to the head. Punk tries to fight back, but Bryan works on the shoulder some more. Bryan with another drop kick in the corner for a close 2 count. Bryan with a suplex for 2. Bryan goes back to work on the shoulder now. Punk fights out, but Bryan focuses on the arm again. Punk cuts off Bryan with a big knee to the gut, and both go down. Punk with kicks and forearms. Punk with a kick to the jaw and a clothesline. Punk hits a neck breaker for a 2. Punk with a knee in the corner. Bryan blocks a bulldog, but Punk ducks the kick and rolls him up for a close 2. Bryan with an uppercut now. Punk charges in the corner, but Bryan dumps him onto the apron. Punk springboards in and takes out Bryan for a 2 count. Punk goes up top for the big elbow, but Bryan hits the ropes and Punk falls. Bryan with an uppercut. Bryan climbs up for a superplex and nails it for a 2 count. AJ tries to tell the referee that Bryan is taking the padding off of a turnbuckle. Bryan comes over to run his mouth, but turns around to a big kick from Punk for a 2 count. Punk charges in, but Bryan drops him on the exposed turnbuckle and covers him for the win. So Bryan gets his title shot. After the match, Bryan does his Borgasms as AJ looks upset that Punk lost. Bryan turns around into Kane as Kane comes in with a steel chair from Revenge on SmackDown. Kane drops Bryan with a chair and then choke slams him on top of it. AJ slides Punk a steel chair. Punk meets Kane with it and unloads on him. Punk beats Kane with a chair until he flees from the ring. Punk's music hits as the exchanges looks with AJ. Up next is the 22-0 Brothers Fay versus Big Show. Back to commercial. Could this be his first loss? Don't even know if it's even a match, actually. Christian versus The Miz was up next. Back from the break, and out comes Intercontinental Champion Christian. Cody Rhodes is doing commentary. Cole finally brings up Chris Jericho's suspension and says he is not here. We have Cody Rhodes on commentary as Miz makes his way out. They lock up and they go at it. Christian with an early pin attempt, but Miz kicks him in the face for a 2. Miz takes control and takes near falls. Christian comes off the top and takes the match back. Christian with a big right hand takes him to the floor, or from the floor, like an uppercut. Christian drops Miz and calls for the spear, but runs into a big boot. Miz gets a close 2 count. Back and forth action for a minute or 2. Cody gets up and distracts Christian, allowing Miz for a 2 count. They trade holds and counters as Cody heads up the ramp and watches. Christian finally catches the kill switch, and he goes up top and hits the frog splash for the win. Eve Torres, David Tonga, and John Laurinaitis backstage. They send Teddy Long to get coffee. John isn't happy with their performance. He talks about Sheamus and Tonga wants a match against him tonight. Laurinaitis says he needs people that he can count on. Teddy comes back in his maid outfit and hands Eve cold coffee. She spits it out on him. He says it's supposed to be cold. It's iced coffee. Teddy shakes his head in frustration as we go back to break. Back from the break, The Miz is still in the ring complaining. He says he made Team Laurinaitis win at WrestleMania and wants to know where his ironclad contract is. Miz wants his video game cover, his title shot, and his bonus. He says he isn't leaving the ring when Randy Orton's music hits and he comes out to interrupt. Miz runs his mouth, but Orton just walks up and lays him out with an RKO. Orton hits the corner to pose for the fans. Then we see Dolph Ziggler and Vicky Guerrero chatting backstage. Ziggler says that that needs to be him. He wants Vicky to get him out of the tag team with Swagger. She says she will see what she can do. Still to come as they go to break. Show versus Clay for your main event, and we see Sheamus walking backstage for his match against David Otunga. Lawler and Cole lead us into a pre-recorded video from John Cena, with Cena talking about what Memorial Day means to him. And next up is David Otunga versus Sheamus. And they went to a break, and back from the break, Sheamus comes out first. World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus is out next. Okay. Yeah, Sheamus is out first. David Otunga was out first. Yep, David Otunga. Bell rings and they start brawling. Wow, it's a brawl? Does David Otunga know how to brawl? Don't know. As I haven't seen the actual Raw itself, I got during the first hour, so I can do the video. Since my hours at work are till midnight, so I'm doing the video now. Okay, Sheamus took it to the corner. Sheamus blocks a hip toss with a big clothesline and sends Otunga to the apron. Otunga counters a power slam and runs over Sheamus for a 2 count. Otunga with forearm shots to the chest and the shoulder for a 2 count. Otunga with a third pin attempt. Otunga with knees and more forearms in the corner. Sheamus blocks a clothesline and runs over Otunga twice. Sheamus dumped him to the apron and hits the big forearm shots to the chest. Sheamus comes back, hits the white noise, and the brogue kick for the win. And backstage, we see Brodus Clay walking. Not dancing, but walking. And they go to commercial. Back from the break. Out comes Brodus Clay with Naomi and Cameron dancing. The music stops and Brodus loses his smile as Big Show makes his entrance next. The show has a mic and says he's a big fan of Brodus. He says he thought he sold out at WrestleMania 21 when he did the sumo match, but that's nothing compared to Clay. Show says Clay does embarrassing things nightly. Show continues running his mouth as he walks down the ramp. Show compares Clay to Doink the Clown, but says Doink had talent. Clay is waiting outside the ring for Show now. Show charges and spears Clay on the floor. Show gets up and works Clay over on the floor, hitting him with a big chop against the fan barrier. Clay fights back, but Show throws him into the ring post. Show continues working Clay over as the crowd boos and his dancers look on from the ring. Show begins to take apart the announcer's table. Kofi Kingston runs in, but Show catches him in midair. R-Truth runs over, but Show throws him into Kofi. Show breaks the announcer's table and grabs a piece of it. He smiles before cracking Brodus in the back with it several times. The crowd chants for Cena now. No Cena. Show grabs R-Truth now and beats him up some more. Kofi tries again, but Show stops him and throws him through the barrier into the timekeeper's box. Show continues his carnage and decks Clay with a big knockout punch to the face. We go to replays. And come back to show walking around the ring still. Clay is laid out, and so are Truth and Kofi. Show's music hits, and he walks up the ramp. He's met by John Laurinaitis. Laurinaitis raises the show's hand up in the air. Cole mentioned that John Cena will be here live next week. Raw goes off the air with Show and Laurinaitis shaking hands. That ends Raw, and now for your main event dark match. After the main event, and the TV where they stopped taping, WWE had Brodus Clay stretchered out of the arena to sell Big Show's knockout punch. John Cena then comes out to face Tensai and Big Show with John Laurinaitis, Big Johnny, in the dark match main event. And John Cena won that match. Due to the fact that Big Show went to give Cena the punch and Cena ducks, and Big Show levels out Tensai and John Cena pins him. Does the attitude adjustment on Big Show and pins Big Show. And that ends the video for Raw and spoilers for Superstars and of course your dark match main event. Thank you and have a nice day, and stay tuned for SmackDown spoilers along with NXT possibly and the other remaining Superstars spoilers.